Nashville and not at the Thomas house, and that's why there's no record of her dying there.
Wow.
So yeah, so I still think there might be two different girls, and then there is um, the little boy that drowned, Edwin.
Right.
But I've communicated with two children across the street in the church that are not the same children in the Thomas house.
I didn't know that.
Yes, there's at least three they say, but I've communicated with two, a little boy and a little girl. Don't know who they are. I have not gotten their names. Don't know who they are. But I don't feel like it's the same ones that talked to us at the Thomas house.
I wonder if that's who pets me when I go in the church there.
It's possible.
I mean, I get
There's
my hair
yeah.
played with there.
Oh, I've had kids laughing and everything. The only time where they do go away when what we call Reverend Good comes out. He's not a nice man. That's when the children just go away. Everybody goes away except him when he's in the room.
Yeah, I mean, he's so obnoxious.
He likes the women. What do you say?
Well, he is obnoxious, though. I mean, yeah, he's always surly. He doesn't really have much to say, if anything, that's nice. And, he just, I don't know. I don't think he likes me either, which is just astounding because I am pleasant. And
It's a
I
matter of
do.
opinion, but no.
Hey now.
I'm
Get
messing
yourself
with
in
you.
trouble there. But seriously, I try to always be respectful when I'm dealing with spirits. I try to recognize the fact that, I really, while we have people that consider themselves experts and everything, none of us knows what it's like on the other side. We don't
No.
know who we're dealing with ever, for real. And it's
No.
just, you know, but I think he's a putz. You do too.
I love him because he. I'm sorry. He he doesn't let us down when it comes to activity.
True.
I've had women feel sick. I've had so many women get touched and they don't say anything until they leave the room, and it's like, oh, why didn't you tell me so we can continue from there?
Yes.
We had one crew member. She was sitting right next to me because I always sit up in the pulpit,
Right.
and she was sitting right next to me, and she goes, "Did you just touch me?" And it's like, no, I don't do that. And you know me, Kat. I
No,
don't
you
mess around
don't.
when I'm hunting. So I said, no, my hands are right here. I did not touch you. So she moved up in her chair so her back wasn't touching the back of the chair. And then she got touched in the arm. So she went and sat between her husband's legs. Um, Interesting enough, I don't know if it's a coincidence or it was, but where she got touched, next day she was in so much pain. She went to the doctor and they say she had like bruised ribs, like if you made a quick jerk movement.
Right.
And that was interesting because we've never had that. And I don't know if it was just her reaction to the touch or what, because she felt pressure, but she did not feel like someone hurt her.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a first for us. I mean, I've seen women's hair being played with. I mean,
Right.
with my eyes, I saw a woman's hair get pulled over her ear. She ended up getting sick and having to go outside. Uh, um, so I've seen so much stuff in there, and of course in the house, it's just endless the amount of evidence that we have in that place at the common house.
Well,
That's why we do it every month because it's just like we can never have enough of that place.
I know. David, my husband, and I were talking, and I was like, well, this is going to be happening at the Thomas house. And he's like, how many times have you been there? I said, well, I don't know, but this and one more won't be enough, you know. So
Right.
I like it too. I've actually tried to make a resolution to explore new places. And it's really hard when you have places that you love not to go back.
I don't mind. I mean, I love going to new places,
I
and
do
I'm
too.
constantly going to new places as much as I can. But I've been going to the Thomas House for 7 years. I was there when Chad put his first event, not the big one, with Steve Gonzalez and Amy Bruni. I went to the first one he did without celebrities. That was almost 7 years ago, and I've been going to since. So I could not tell you how many times I've been to the Thomas
Oh,
House.
you know what, Felix? I am going to
Yes.
have to interrupt you because we are up against a 3 minute break, and it's just a nice musical interlude, and we'll be back.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
And just like that, here we are right back with Felix Martin. And I have to tell y'all that secretly, Felix is probably one of my very favorite people to investigate with. Don't tell everyone else. But because I learn, there's great information, there's great conversation, there's ideas that are just sometimes a little off the wall, and they work. And Felix, you're always so open to other ideas too. It's just really nice.
I am. I'm always open. I hear everybody's and I try anything and everything there is to see what works. You know, I met I talked to Grant Wilson when we were in Scottsville,
Hmm.
and he came up with some interesting concepts that made me go, huh, where not all paranormal activity is ghost, but it could be a time warp or a time, uh, you know, a fracture in time,
Mm-hmm.
and makes you think. Like we were in the church the other night and we heard, "What's your name?" And that now makes me think, was the ghost asking one of the guests their name? Or was that like a prior investigator that we hear them say, "What's your name?" You know what I mean?
I
So
do. Yeah.
Grant really put a twist in my head because now it's like I'm second guessing some of it. But I still told the guest that answer, always answer. If you can hear their question, oh, definitely answer them because you're going to get more,
Right.
you know? But it makes you think sometimes what Grant said. And it was because of an experience he had where he walked into a room and saw a shadow on the other side of the bed. And he was with two investigators. One didn't come into the room, one stayed in the doorway, and he went all the way up to the shadow and put his hand through the shadow. And I can't tell you the timeline, but months or a year later, someone came to him. He says, they told him I was investigating in that location and I was standing in the room and I see three shadows. One it disappeared, one stayed in the doorway, and one came at me and put their hand through my body.
Oh,
And that's when you start thinking, whoa, what happened there, you know? So it makes you think.
that does make you think.
You know, when he said that story, it's like, oh my goodness, now it makes me think of all my investigations and what could have been what we call a ghost or a fracture in time, time warp, or
Right.
but it's interesting.
That is interesting. You know, he is the first person that I ever heard say, you know, these are people.
Yes.
You need to treat them like you want to be treated because these are people. They walked the earth just like we do.
Well, I always said that. I tell people, listen, these are humans.
Mm-hmm.
They're just in another realm, another dimension, whatever you want to call it, but they're still people. They're so imagine yourself if someone comes up to you and says, knock to ice. What's your name? Do flips, do
Mm-hmm.
this. And then the next day someone else comes, knock on the wall. What's your name? Why are you here? Why did you do this? Why did,
Yeah.
you know,
Who's the president?
yeah. I mean,
I hear
and it
that
gets
one a lot
tired.
too.
You just got to put yourself in their shoes. And the other thing that you got to think about is a timeline. When did these people pass? What timeline did they live in? What period? And try to speak in their period, not ours. Like, hey, I think you're cool. To someone that died 200 years ago, they're gonna think you're telling them that they're cold. So you got to learn. Like when I talk to children from like in the 1800s, I don't say, "Hey, I'll bring you a piece of candy if you talk to me."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I talk to them and say, "Hey, do you like sugar sweets?" You know,
Yeah.
I try to think of words and or games or songs, but you got to always think of their time period because they might not know all the stuff. Like when you're investigating, you have a K2, is touch my K2.
Right.
Well, what is a K2?
And is that
What is a
legal?
REM pod?
Yes.
You know, they don't know. So I try to say, can you get close to the green light? It's not going to hurt you. See, I put my hand on it. It won't hurt you, but it'll let me know that you're there. So they can see a green light. You don't have to explain to them that that is an electronic piece of device. They just see the green light. I know they can see green light because we've heard the children in the Thomas house say the word green.
Mm-hmm.
So that means they can see that green light. So again, I don't know if all can see, I think some only here because I remember back